Today we're going out doing a job that the customer had started. He took out a closet or something in a downstairs room and had started to do the repair, and I think just didn't know how to finish it, which is totally fine. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm getting into as far as the, he had started the mud section of it. So we'll see what we get into. And I mean, anything can be repaired. It's just how far do we have to cut it back to do so. So we're gonna walk you through step for step how to fix something like this, how to texture it right, how to just make it look great. And then potentially what not to do, depending on what we see when we get there. So we'll cut into me doing that here shortly, but I just wanted to spend a quick second about, this is not necessarily what my videos are about, is just drywall. The point is, like with this job, I'm gonna make 65 maybe an hour for 4 hours, maybe 3, just depending. It's a $200 job, and but I have 2 of these jobs today, so it's not a huge day for me. But the other job is for $350, so $550 today. And but let's just say for I think the majority of people, let's say I give you $550 for one day for 7 hours of work, maybe 8. Pretty cool, huh? I mean, that's a lot of money. And with any of these ideas, you could potentially build it into that. So I don't want to take too much of this drywall video into that, but basically my channel is about ways to make money, exactly how to do it step for step. I've offered several ideas already, and I'll continue to make videos like this, but this video is about how to repair a drywall patch that somebody else started and potentially isn't of very good quality. So we're going to cut to that now and hopefully get it fixed up beautifully. So here's our patch, this line here, right? This going down. He must have had a closet here or something. Now at first glance, so this isn't painted, but at first glance that might seem fine, right? But if we get up closer to it, you can see that line right there. And if you put a knife up to it, see we have a lot of rocking. Okay, so let's just put it on the regular. So, well, the texture's doing that, but very little rocking. I don't know if you can see that hump. But basically what has happened is he put too much mud in the center. Now he did this texture, and I mean, that's definitely a texture. It just doesn't match, right? Those are very thin compared to that. That's a good shot. Okay. So basically what I'm doing is I always bring my power sander for people that have done previous work, because basically I'm just gonna take it and just sand the crap out of it until it's flat again, because I'm looking for that, right? No movement compared to that. So I'm going to set us up on the tripod here and get power sanding and see what happens when we do that. A backlight helps the best. So I just did a small section here, right there, because I just don't want this video to be too long. I'm gonna do the rest off camera. But we basically see this here, see the bump and the texture from the old stuff? So I just sanded it down and we see that. So that's basically my first step, okay? I'm gonna get a knife and show you what that looks like. Can't hold the flashlight and the knife at the same time. So basically, if we look there, we're closer. We have a little bit of light there. So if you put it on the high point, right, because that's a high point right there. That's a high point. Put it there and there. See that light? Okay, so that's called a fill. So we're gonna put mud there to fill that. Over here doesn't look too bad. We're still gonna fill it,
because we see paper here. See paper there. I see a little paper there. Okay, and we obviously don't want paper showing. So that light there, we're gonna fill. So I'm gonna fill it from here to here. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, I finished sanding off screen. We're down to tape here. Do you see that there? That's the paper tape that he used. Right there. With any patches, I personally like to use more tape there. I personally like to use mesh. It keeps it from bubbling. So basically that's the sanded down product. So what has happened here, and we'll put our knife up so you can see, but even sanded still, do you see how we're wobbly, right? And this is pretty extreme with the tape. So he probably did a too thick of a tape layer, or he just messed up doing the drywall. And in other videos, I'll show you how you can get a much better prep than this. So this is a huge fill, but that's basically as far as I'm gonna take it because of tape. So how do we fix this, right? This is very common with patch, so how do we fix this? If we take our knife, we put it on our high point, our tape here, it's a high point, and go over seal that light. So that needs to become mud. That's called a fill, right? So then if that is that, we move it over, that's gonna be mud, right? Same over here, we're gonna go our high point here. That's a little bit bigger. So that needs to be a fill. So that's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna mix up some quick set mud. I'm gonna show you how to do that. And then we're gonna add our mud here to this whole section, right? The wall is a flat finish, so I just need to sand it down and probably add a couple coats of just regular mud, and I'll show you what kind I use. But this isn't, see that, right? Probably, well, no, I see tape here, okay, tape. I don't want to rip the tape off. Again, I would have used mesh tape on all repairs. I like to use mesh tape. But that fill, even if I sand that, because of the paper tape, so I need to fill that. So I'll fill that with quick set a little bit later. I'm gonna worry about the sealing because it needs the most work right now. So we're gonna be mixing mud. So this is the mud I like to use. Okay, for this job it'll be 20 minutes. They make a bunch of different times. This is how much water I'm gonna use in this case. I like to cut a little handle right there. A little paddle, it's for paint. So we didn't add enough. If you try to mix this by hand, it takes forever and you just never get good results as far as smooth mud. Too much, so we're going to take some water, okay, just a little. So that is good for what we're going to do for our fill. So we have a quick set mud, and if you remember right, if you can see this, we're going to mud from here to here, because we got to fill that. Okay, so you just start wherever, in this case. A little tip about mud. If you take your mud and you get your mount out, if you cut a little notch in it like this, it helps for spill out. So like when I pull my knife, it's not gonna fall. Like see how that little bit fell? it more would have fallen if I didn't do that. You don't have to do that in all cases, but it just helps a little bit with that. So I'm just trying to get the material up here right now so I can work with it. Right. Oh, surprise. So let's just say we're done. Okay, so we have our material up here. I always like to start with my edges. I'm gonna press tight. See how I'm bending? Press tight and wipe it. Okay? There's ripples here, I don't know if you can see that. And I see how I push like that? Now I'm gonna take 2 fingers and wipe it across. And that alone, we're basically there. But no, we're not. But it needs more fill. I put my knife up to it. I saw quite a bit of light. And we're not going to get this in one coat. It's going to need several coats. So again, we're going to wipe the edges really tight, as tight as it'll physically go. Wipe down the middle. I'm going to check to see where we're at. That's better. So this particular go around, we are going to call that good. So we wipe tight here, we wiped once here. Now I'm gonna wipe tight here because this is a high point. So I'm gonna take my thumb, pushing hard on my thumb, and wipe tight. Another one down the middle, just kind of smooth things out. And for this particular coat, one more here, I see a line. I'll just clean up a little bit of a mess that I saw. So for this particular coat, that's good for this one coat. The same thing over here. I'm going to wipe. Okay, we're going to wipe down the middle with 2 fingers. See where we're at. Still needs more fill. So I am running out. I'm going to have to mix more. I'll do that off camera just so this video isn't super long. Put more product up. Wipe tight on this side. 2 fingers down the middle. Okay, let's see where we're at. Better, so good for this. So I'm going to wipe tight on this side. And again, the reason I'm wiping tight is because this is the high point. And this doesn't need a lot more mud. We need to cover that tape, but it doesn't need a thick fill like that light we were showing you. Again, I'm going down the middle to smooth things out. 2 fingers, semi-lightly. I have a weird line here. So I'm going to put down that side again. Okay, just one more really light. Okay. So for this particular step, that's going to be good for this step. This will probably need 2 more layers, maybe 3 of this quick set before I can add topping and then texture. You can't rush these steps. You're not going to get it in 1 layer. It's going to take many, many layers. I'm going to pause the video, do the whole thing, but that exact same technique we're going to use. All right, so I've done spreading. Notice how much wider we are? Okay, I did the whole thing. We're going to get up closer here. And again, this isn't typical. With a good hang, it's going to be lessened. But if you remember how much light we had last time, and I think this was the exact same spot, this is just the very first coat. Okay, so we have less light. Let's go over to our fill here. Okay. We have less. I mean, so that one's basically perfect. Once it dries, it'll go down. But still, we're going to do another several coats on this. This side, we have some attention. Okay. So the whole thing just needs a little more work, okay? So a couple more coats. I'm going to let that dry. While that's drying, another coat there. A little light there. Okay, a little bit of wiggle. We don't want that wiggle. We're trying to get rid of it. While that's drying, we're going to work on our walls, see what we can do as far as fixing those up. All right, we're going to first start by just sanding it and see what's left once we get down to the paper. I normally have a vacuum that sucks that up. I didn't think I was gonna need this much sanding. We're done with the paper. We're still gonna need fill. I have mud left from the ceiling. Just a little mud. Now this ceiling, I'm calling the wall because it's non-textured. So I'm gonna treat it like the wall because this is a flat finish. So similar here, I went on both sides the high point, and I did identify it needs a fill. Take our notch out, and if you do this 1,000 times, that notch will make sense. Just helps. So we're just gonna spread it. I'm not really concerned with the look right now. Just getting the material on the wall. From the other side. You don't have enough mud here. You'll mix 100,000 pans if you do this a lot. I mean, for this job, I'll probably mix, I don't know, 10 pans, 5 or 10 pans. So it's on the wall right now. Okay, so I'm gonna first do my edges here. See how I'm bending it? Okay, so I'm just wiping the edge with a bend. So that edge is cleaned up. Then I'm gonna go down the middle. Just kind of get it to the edge here. Okay, down the middle once. I'm gonna identify where we are as far as the fill. The fill looks decent. So I'm gonna wipe this other side. And the reason this isn't the technique you're going to use all the time, but this is our high point, so we need to keep mud off of this as much as possible. On a normal patch that we'll do together, the technique would be a little bit different, but because we have previous existing poorly done work, this is how we're treating it. So we're going to check our fill again. I'm going to do one just to kind of smooth things out. Now, it doesn't need to look perfect with the fill around because it's going to get more layers. This side. Left wipe really tight. Over here I didn't touch any with that knife. Okay, 2 fingers, just softly wipe down. Outlet in the way, so I'm going to wipe up. See how we are. Quite a bit still. Because it was so much, I'm just going to add more to it right now. It needed so much of the fill, is what I mean. So I'm basically going to start over now. Right side wipe tight. Okay. 2 fingers down here. Just because the outlet's in the way is kind of why I'm doing this. And again, we're not making it look nice right now. It's just, we're trying to just fill. So that's better. It does need more. So I'm going to wipe down the high point here, the right side, my right side, and then just clean it up. So for this layer, for right this moment, that's done. For just right now. I'll get you close to it. Okay, so I know it's all white, but if you look down here, and you can see the tape, you see the big fill, okay, the wobble, I guess that one's not bad, but over here, it's lessened. We still have a little light, but again, we're gonna do several more layers on here. But that's a real good one right there. If you go on this side, that's looking better. Okay. So anyway, this is a flat finish, but so I just did that small section. We have this over here to do. Here and here, but that's flat too. So I'm going to do this exact same technique on the rest of these and see how we do. Okay, so this is the finish of the very first coat. Okay. And again, let's not get hung up too much on how it looks, how your wipes look. It's not going to be perfect. Great example. See all these mess ups? All these weird lines. I don't really care. There's a bunch of bubbles in here. I don't really care because it's just my first coat. Don't get caught up. I mean, first you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it in the one coat anyway. It's going to be multiple coats. But just understand it's the very first coat, so it's okay. I'm gonna give this about 5 minutes to dry. I'll be back and I'm gonna do the exact same thing as far as the fill. So I mean, we'll do it together, but it's gonna look identical, but just a little bit smoother and a little bit less wiggle on that knife. All right, our sealing is dry enough for an additional coat. Okay, the reason I use the quick set is so I can have the patch done in a day. Regular mud on this thick of a fill would take 10 hours to dry. So if you remember what it looked like before, that fill there, now that one looks pretty good, so that probably just needs one more layer. Let's look over here. That was actually pretty good too. I'll probably end up doing 2 layers on that one. And then here, okay, just a little bit of light, so another fill for sure. But we're a lot better. And again, this is just the very first coat. Say we just don't look perfect. I don't care because it's the first coat. That's pretty thick, so that needs a pretty good layer. Okay, so I'm gonna do the exact same thing here, the exact same thing. I'm gonna apply the mud, do the edges, wipe it tight like that. I'm pretending there's mud up here. And then wipe it flat like that. Okay. And then do here. Okay, tight, wipe it tight. So we're doing this first, wiping it tight like that. Then a light coat like this. Okay. Then we're checking it to see where we're at. And then we're gonna wipe this side. Okay. I'm gonna put us down on our tripod and do that, but that's just up close what's happening, okay? Okay, so we're on our tripod. I'm gonna get a Vulcan knife of mud here. I'm gonna take our corner out. Again, that'll make sense if you do this enough. Why? If I didn't do that, it would just, oh, this is, all right, watch this. See how this is gonna fall, right? That little knife you take off prevents that more. Right, so let's not do it here. Right, it's gonna, no, that won't do it exactly. You'll understand if you do this stuff. So I have the material up here, it looks like crap, which is totally fine. I'm gonna now wipe this edge really tight. I'm bending that knife. Okay, then we're gonna wipe the middle, get the shape. Just get into the corner there, make sure it's inside. Wiping it. That's probably too much mud because I bumped there because there's way too much mud. So I'm going to do the edge again. Go down the middle. Okay. Check our fill. That looks fantastic. So now I'm going to do here, clean that up. And for this particular situation, I'm trying to not add any mud here for now. I'll go, even my next coat, I won't add any mud there. And each layer you do is going to look nicer and nicer. I'll eventually get you up close to this one so you can see what it looks like. And I'm just kind of cleaning it up. I'm not really taking a whole lot of material off, I'm just cleaning it up. So that area is done for this layer, so layer 2 for this repair. So I'm going to pause this, I'm going to do the same thing on the walls, I'm going to finish everything, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. All right, this is the second quick set coat complete. It may look very similar to the first coat, but the one big difference is just more smooth. Okay, each coat we do is going to look, the final product's going to look better and better. So I'm gonna let that dry about 10 minutes and I'm gonna be back to do our topping coat. Just to briefly tie into my other video, this is the lasagna I made from that other video. I'm not going out to eat, I'm saving money that way. This lasagna costs, I mean, I don't know what a portion costs, but far less than a McDonald's or something like that. Go ahead and check out that other lasagna video. It's a great way to save money each month. Okay, our second coat is dry. And if we look here, okay, so I'm going to call that good for quick set. A little bit there, but we're going to do one more flat coat here with topping as our mud. Okay, topping this is the box. This is the customer's. I'm not going to use it, this box. But that's the exact stuff I use. That's my stuff. But that's what I'm going to use, topping. Okay, here if you remember, we didn't put any mud in the middle here because that was the high point. I didn't want to add to the height. So we're going to take our mud in first, and I'm just going to do a small section here. First go in the middle, okay? And that's going to fill because there's a little hole there and tape and nonsense. So I'm going to do the same thing we've been doing. I'm going to wipe this side really tight with that angle, okay? Wipe the right side, go down the middle. And here I'm wanting to finish, because this is one of my final coats. I want the finish, maybe a little dry spot there. I want the finish to look pretty much perfect. So just keep wiping until it's perfect. Okay, over here. All right, so we're looking really good here. So now I need to check my fill. Okay, and it looks fantastic. So next what we're gonna do, and I would do this to all the wall. So next what I'm going to do, and you can go right on top of this. I don't need to let this dry. But what I can do is we're going to get our mud and we're going to cover our quickset. Quickset itself doesn't paint that well. So if this were to dry and sand it out, it's really smooth or whatever, quickset doesn't like paint. So now I'm doing the exact same technique that I did for the quickset. I already put the mud up here, but I did the same thing. I've showed you several times. So the mud's up here. Now we're going to wipe the edges. Wipe the middle. I'm going to wipe a little tighter, a little harder, rather, if that makes sense. Okay, check. And I mean, that is perfect. And I'll show you here. But now I'm going to wipe this edge. So my fill is just perfect. So now the point is for this section is I want it smooth and flat. So there I'm going to apply even pressure and I'm just going to get out all the wrinkles, all the weirdness. So really light wipes. And I'm just trying to make it so there's a little sanding as possible because sanding sucks and I don't like to do it. So I try to do it as little as possible. So that section there is done. I'm going to do the rest of the wall just like that. So again, we started in the middle. I went right on top of that and moved to the side. So this weirdness here, this blob I put up, I'm going to do that over here. Same thing, so the whole wall. And I'll come back. All right, so the topping coat is complete. Okay, exact same technique we've used that I've mentioned several times. So if you notice, and possibly you can see this, but how smooth and flat that looks. It's still wet, or I'd put my knife up there. Little spot there, but that's a really easy sand. I want to do as little sand as possible. I just don't care for it. Here, this is going to be the most crucial with the whole line, with every bit that transitions from there to like there. So from here to here, you're just kind of stuck with this line when you have previous texture. If this were a smooth wall, I could make that. Well, here we have the paint roller has caused texture, so I'll still need to sand that. But that's another video. So this texture, it's caused these kind of ripples. Where's it good? See those ripples? Okay. So this whole thing has these ripples or these weirdness. So once this dries, I'm going to have to sand with just with a hand sander. I'm not going to use that again, but just hand sand that, and then super light here. So once that's complete, then we're ready for texture, and that's our last step. Now we're pretty dry now. I'm going to sand this small section here. Okay, where are we? Right here. See how we blend really well? Okay, there's no step like there's a step there. And here it's just a blend. So I'm gonna do that whole thing and then sand the middle here really lightly, like right there, where we just showed you. Just really light sanding. So I'm gonna do that whole thing to pretty much every edge. Okay, just go down it like that and clean those edges up. Okay, our final fill before texture. Okay, we are pretty darn perfect if you remember what it looked like before. Right? All right, there's 1,000 different textures. This texture is, looks like that. This is very common, but there's a million different ways to do it. So I'm going to show you how to match that. So we have 2 hawks. And with a thin layer, or thin texture like that, we're just going to take our mud and do a thin layer here. Okay, just a real thin layer. And next, just sort of going to pull them apart. Push them together, pull them apart. And what's happening? It's making these peaks. And we're just going to softly place it up here. Just softly. See that? Perfect. You always want to go up over the patch so you have blending. You need to add more mud now. Again, just a thin layer. If you do a thick layer here, these blobs will be larger and the texture will be bigger. So that's a different way to do it. But I'm trying to match this thin. So I want this really thin. So just very thin coat. See what's happened? Okay, I'm just going to do that one area. I'm going to let it dry for 2 minutes and I'll be right back. All right, I'll let this dry for 2 minutes, and how long you let it dry, again, changes the texture. Okay, so then we're going to just take our knife. We're going to softly wipe it. Oops. Just softly wipe it. So right there, see that? Okay, looks pretty much the same as that. See it? Okay. Okay, that is our repair. It's complete. We'll get closer to that texture. I'm going to give this a few more minutes to dry, but it's just flat. Really nothing to see. A few more minutes to dry, especially right there. I want to sand, right? Around the edges. But our texture looks fantastic. And I'm going to wet sand this here in about 10 minutes. See how perfect it looks? Right? To match texture is very hard. But if your texture looks like that, now you know how to make it look the same. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to show you, but I'm just going to sand this out in a few minutes, and that's it. That's the patch. Okay, that's our repair. It took us just a few minutes over 3.5 hours. This job was $200, so that was about $57 an hour and some change. And that's pretty good, right? How many of you can literally say
you make, now that's low on my end, okay? I don't much like to care for that, and I could have shaved off half hour, 45 minutes if I didn't make this video. I could, it was just kind of frustrating getting that camera around. Kind of on that same note, how you can pay me forward for that time that I lost making this video, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit like. It really will help me get the message out and just help people understand how to make money. So again, how many of you can say you make, in this case, $57 an hour? Now, I do drywall at least 40 hours a week, okay? So I make at least this amount, or I like to stick at 80 or 100 an hour. Now, I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I literally like to stick at that for drywall. So I do that about 40 hours a week, okay? And then I do all these side things. It's the spring now, so we don't have snow blow, but that's a beautiful idea if you go back and watch that video. I'm growing seeds right now. Those are a couple weeks away from being done, so I'm going to sell those. I'm going to make $500 to $1,000, and I put in very little effort for that. So basically, this video was how to repair somebody else's repair that wasn't good, right? So we made this beautiful, we made this patch beautiful, and we made pretty good money doing it. Please subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts. And I'd love to make this channel just as helpful as I can to people, so you can change your mindset on how to make money. Stop making your boss or owner money. Make yourself some. Thanks.